halo.
Race day has arrived here in Assen. The crowd has already packed the stands. Everything is ready for the technical Grand Prix. Let's move straight to the starting grid. There's very little time left until the start of the race. You can literally feel the tension.
Kita bikin skor buatnya dulu ya. Ya, selesai. Kita restart. Pendukungnya Veda mana nih guys? Bang Jack nih pasti nih. Bang Jack ya kan. Ganti profil yoi. Patah-patah ini lagi di setting. Ayo sawer ya. Suara apa yang berisik dan ada suara aneh nggak? Ada suara anomali nggak? Gua pakai mikrofon handphone ini. Bentar, gua cek apanya. Emang ada ya? Oh iya bentar. Untung lo ngasih tahu. Tes. Nah, dah. Speaker laptop aja lah. Udah enggak kan? Ya gue pakai ini. Mic-nya handphone, cuma mic pentolnya habis baterainya. Jadi gerezek. Capek lah ngecas mulu. Bang Jack main WOT Bang Jack. Lah. Iya kayak suara pompa Pasanyo merek Cosmo Modesta. Di dinding, di meja. Iya dia main WOT, dia gaya sampai 2 akun dia. Kita 1 akun udah males, ada gendek. Dan belilah akun WOT gua noh. Udah mau pensiun gua, udah malas ini. Tinggal lu. Udah 1 juta sini, nggak apa-apa 1 juta. Please bang gua. Udah males gua main. Ada banyak game-game game seru. Lah cuma sejuta. Yaelah. Kita nggak ada di sejuta. Ada lah pasti. Ayo lemari bapak lu pasti ada duit. Ya apaan? Oncom ada 15 tier 10. Gak level 11. Iya lu keyboard aja nggak kebeli ya. Mana aku? Tak lu nggak kebeli. Keyboardnya cuma 50.000 aja nggak kebeli lu ya. Wis. Temen lu yang nyari akun, ada nggak temen lu yang nyari akun? Kita main di handphone sih ya. Pas serunya sih main di handphone. Jack ngilang aja bang Jack. Bang Jack. Oh, mana pendukungnya Veda mana? Absen dari kota mana aja? Depan Hakim Danis. Iya, Hakim Danis kita lewatin. Gagah kali manis. Keluar. Maksudnya ngeceret. Keluar tuh apa ngeceret? Parah lo ya, belum cukup umur udah ngerti begituan. Depan ada Quiles. Siap-siap kita tikung saja. Parah ya, otak lo ya, kotor pikirannya ya. Ya, Wiles kita salib. Belum dapat, Bung. Iya, mantap sekali menyalip seperti ninja. Dalam. Si ninja peda sangat berbahaya, Bung. Oke, lap ke-5, posisi ke-6. Oh, keluar live. Emang lu kira keluar apa? Makanya ngomong yang jelas. Iya. Wah, gagal. Oke, Bang Dan. Pipi botak. Peda menyalip. Belum dapat. Masuk 5 besar. Oh, tidak. Hampir saja peda terjatuh. Tidak jadi berkat doa ibu. Pipi botak tapi damage-nya kecil. Waduh, disalip kita oleh Ogo. Kita salip lagi, Bung. Masuk exit cornering. Coba menyalip. 3 besar. Mana ada Fernandes. Rory. Fernandes deh. Eri pemain-pemainan orang yang 21. Ada apa gerangan ini? Aduh, melebar, gagal menyalip. Iya, menyalip 2. Yah, masuk pasir. Cacat, Pamina. Tambah memasuki 3 besar. Kita akan coba di exit cornering menyalip. Mana fansnya peda nih? Ada yang absen. Ya, kita sudah mulai mendekat. Langkah lagi, kita akan salip. Ya, iya, dikit lagi, dikit lagi. Belum dapat guys. Nah, ini adalah tikungan setan nih, tikungan setan. Kan, tikungan setan. Mau nonton kota dari kota mana, yuk Cung? Sen. Terus mode on. Kali ini harus bisa masuk podium 1, nggak mau tahu ya. Seat cornering. Udah mulai mencoba mendekat. Ambil dari jebret. Ya, tikungan tajam, hati-hati. Iya, manis sekali kita menyalip, disalip lagi. Iya, kita menyalip. Oh, tapi terjatuh. Sama aja bohong, coy. Senggol dikit padahal ya. Kasar dia ya. Ya, kita balap. Senggol-senggol. Tanggungan sengit. Aduh, salah jalur. Ih, ih. KTM kita lewati. Iya, manis sekali. Semuanya kita lewati. speed cornering. Ada juara 1. Masih 5 lap lagi guys. Panjang. Masih beresiko. Tong jalan saja. Kita masih juara 1. Veda unggul 0,7 detik. Ya, memasuki lap 12. Oh, tidak. Disalip Bambang. It's belokan tajam. Iya, cakep. Nah, fansnya Veda nih. exit cornering, ya sepeda masih mimpin dengan selisih detik 2 detik. Oh, masuk jalur lambat. Bahaya, Bung. Kita lihat lagi. Tajam, hati-hati. Hati jalur finish, awas tikungan setan. Iya, manis. Suki lap 15. Kita last lap. Masih memimpin Veda. Iya, Veda juara 1. Uhuy.
As the riders return to pits, let's take a look at the final standings of this Moto3 race.
Veda jadi ke-7, coy. Beda gini info. Nanti dulu kita. Ini disangka bohong gitu. Harus sesuai. Di peda itu posisi ketujuh ya. Hasilnya posisi ketujuh. Levi 2 peda posisi ketujuh ya. Ketiga, sorry. Ketiga itu kedua, yang kedua. Yang qualify ke satu. Berarti besok peda start di P ke-7. Besok peda balapan start di 7 ya. Sesi ke-7.
Best of the rest behind that quartet of super rapid Aprilias in Q2 this morning. It was
Bagnaia, who set the 5th quickest time. As we said a few months ago, Ducati are unbeaten in sprints. Around this iconic, this legendary TT Circuit Assen. The first of them came here going into chapter 10, just 8 points, splitting the factory Aprilias of Bezzecchi and Martin, 23 back of Bez. His fellow Italian Fabio De Gianantonio, who remains at the top Ducati in the World Championship. That will stay the same, immaterial of what happens over the next 20 minutes or so here in front of packed grandstands at the TT Circuit Assen. The Cathedral of Speed is expectant. The Cathedral of Speed. The fans have come to worship at the Cathedral once again. Worship the best riders in the world. Coming late to his place on the front row of the grid is Akhir, the Japanese star. He will split the 2 factory Aprilias. Aprilia first, Aprilia second, Aprilia third, Aprilia 4th on the grid for the very first time in Grand Prix history. Keep an eye on these starts. Is wheelie going to be a factor with the ban on the whole shot devices? Problem for Fabio Quartararo on the factory Yamaha. He was due to start in 9th place. He's got on back on top of the wide starting one. We've got the green flag, then that is clearing at the back. Quartararo is sorting himself out in P9, but it's going to be lights out, and we're racing in the sprint here in Assen. A bit of a pop there on the front end of Pekka by nice factory Ducati, but again it's Akhir that's got the drop on the 2 factory Ducatis. Look at Marc Marquez trying to squeeze in between Ralph Fernandez and Marco Bezzecchi. Marc Marquez up from 7th to 5th, but it's Akhir that leads.
Yeah, and then we've got Gianantonio running 6th. I think Quartararo just got a little bit stuck when he was trying to get into his grid position because someone was pulling into their box ahead of him, so I don't think he had any problems with his bike on the grid. And there's a crash further back, what looked like for a Honda. I think it was Mir down.
I think it was Joan Mir on the factory Honda. Oh, bumping and barging we go there. The Gianantonio, it is Joan Mir, then a first lap exit here for the factory Honda rider. Digi got on the inside of Marc Marquez, picked the world champion up. He in turn picked up Fabio Quartararo on the outside of the first skid through. Martin's already got through on Akhir. Martin then has wasted precious little time to hit the front. He's attacked Akhir and he leads here.
And Aprilia have maintained their 1, 2, 3, 4 off the grid. Pedro Acosta is in 9th position, so he's dropped a place behind the fast starting Quartararo. Once he got his Yamaha sorted, he got it off the line pretty quickly.
Oh, Bezzecchi's made a real massive debolt. He got in there way too what Fabio De Gianantonio strikes through then. So the Aprilia top 4 is over. De Gianantonio capitalising what was a big mistake there from Bez. He's dropped into the clutch of the 2 factory Ducatis now.
Sprints just aren't his forte at the moment, are they? Down to 5th place, and as it stands, he's already a second behind Jorge Martin, who leads the sprint and of course could take a huge bite out of that 8-point World Championship lead.
Could be our all-time record winner in the sprint format. As we mentioned pre-race, 18 gold medals he shares with Marc Marquez. Perfect first lap then for Jorge Martin. Further back we've got Quartararo and Acosta having a good battle. That's for 8th place, back end of the point scoring places. Acosta trying to line up a move on Quartararo into the first corner. He's got the inside line. There's nothing that the Frenchman can do about that. So now Acosta up into 8th.
Yeah, and soon there'll be another KTM queuing up behind Quartararo's Yamaha. That's Bastianini running in 10th place. We've got Moreira in 11th, so he's up a couple of places. Understandably, Alex Marquez, a little cautious on the opening lap. He's down to 16th.
Lovely that by Fernandez. Trackhouse Aprilia on Trackhouse Aprilia. Fernandez got onto the inside line in the first gear to Struben. A little bit like what we saw last time out in Brno. Not super aggressive. He got the great start, didn't he, Akhir? Last weekend, the Grand Prix, he dropped quickly behind the factory Ducatis of Marquez and Bagnaia. He's been picked off early here by Martin and Fernandez. I think Fernandez felt like he had to get on with business there because he can see Martin trying to make a decisive break.
Oh, that's a KTM that's gone wide, coming through turn 7. Looks like one of the Tech 3 bikes, I think, that was wide, or was it Acosta? It was Acosta who was run wide because it is still Bastianini behind Quartararo, so I don't think that was a problem with the KTM. I think that was Acosta simply running wide through 7.
Yeah, and he lost 7 places. He was 8th, having just got through on Quartararo. He's dropped back down to 15th place. He has immediately recovered 1 place back to on the factory Yamaha of Rins. So at the front then, it is Jorge Martin that leads. But a dozen bike lengths back to the Mugello sprint winner Ralph Fernandez. Akhir was still there in 3rd place. Marco Bezzecchi then as the only Aprilia that's lost places at the start of this race.
Hasn't shown any signs of gaining them since then, has he? Let's have a look back at the picture through the KTM. Yeah, he's wide through 7 and ends up going onto the gravel together. Very lucky he didn't drop the bike then, because he'd have been straight in front of a huge pack of riders, and had to be very careful that he slotted back into line very carefully.
Some superb motocross skills there by Pedro Acosta. We know how he loves motocross. Well, he put all of those skills to good use there. I think Moreira's got through on Quattararo further back. He has indeed. Moreira then now into points going places.
He's up into 9th. Fernandez all over the race leader as Bagnaia now attacks Marc Marquez. Ducati versus Ducati at the front. Bagnaia on the inside there of Marc Marquez is going to have to give that one up. So Pekan now up into 6th place, but Raul Fernandez has jumped straight onto the back of Jorge Martin in this all Aprilia battle for the lead.
There's a mistake somewhere from Jorge Martin as Pecco Bagnaia goes charging in hot through the Vinschlag. Here is Martin then. They're all starting to hunt down the early sprint leader here. Marc Marquez then up into 6th place. And that spells a bit of trouble for the Aprilias directly ahead of it. Still Aprilias for them in the top 5, but there's been no immediate recovery from Marco Bezzecchi. He made that mistake on that one at De Bolt, which lost him that P4. He's been not able to get back on par with Digia.
Yeah, we just knew, didn't we, with Marc Marquez, even with his physical condition, even knowing that this is the strongest circuit, he was never going to take a backward step. A bold, brave move to retake Pecco Bagnaia down the Vinschlag.
Fernandez then, he has already one sprint win so far in 2026. Acosta still in 14th place further down the order. The 2 factory Ducatis once again going toe-to-toe. Fernandez coming from a long, long way back into the timber chicane. He's just going to park it mid-corner. Di Giannantonio also comes through on Aguirre further down the field. So 2 key moves there into turn 16. The most significant was Raul Fernandez snatching the lead from Martin.
And Di Giannantonio then into 3rd. Bezzecchi still on the back of that leading 5, but unable to really do anything with it at the moment. 0.7 of a second covers the top 5, and it's Di Giannantonio at the moment fighting a lone fight for Ducati.
Fernandez did a real number on the field in the Mugello sprint. Nobody got anywhere near laying a glove on the number 25. This is just a week after he thought he was going to be missing this Grand Prix of the Netherlands. That real nasty bout of appendicitis, which really did hurt his progress throughout that weekend in Brno. Well, no problemo right now for the Spaniard as he hits the front then for the first time in this sprint. Lap 4 of 13.
Bastianini on the KTM is still going with this posse of Italian bikes, as this time it's Bagnaia going wide through 7, not as wide as Acosta went earlier on. So we've got a leading group of 8 with Bastianini just at the back of the picture. Moreira also going with them. He's in the final points place.
Now then, Martin's going the wrong way here. It's Fabio Di Giannantonio off into 2nd. Aguirre is now back in 3rd place. So Fabio Di Giannantonio splits the track out of Aprilia. What's going on here with Jorge Martin, the early sprint leader? He's dropping out of contention here. So Martin made the front running for the first couple of laps, but at the moment he's going to be all on to hang on to this 4th place with Bezzecchi all over his rear tyre.
Must have made a mistake through turn 8, because he was 3/10 clear of Di Giannantonio, so he's lost around half a second in that battle. He's trying to fight it back now up the inside of the chicane and back through on Aguirre. So it's Trackhouse at the moment that look a pretty best bet of victory here. Bezzecchi now looking to try and finally get involved in this battle for the podium as he still sits 5th.
Almost half a second. There's Aguirre. Instant payback here coming on Martin. There's nothing that Martin could do about that. He might get nudged out wide. That might open the door here for Bezzecchi going through turn 2. No, not quite. I mean, this is playing into hands, isn't it? This sort of melee for 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th respectively, playing into hands of Fernandez and Di Giannantonio at the front here. They're out of your picture just going through turn 5.
Yeah, they're doing low to mid 32s. Martin did a 33.1 on the last lap, so he lost 0.8 of a second relative to the leader, and it must have been a mistake that put that group all over him. So the factory Aprilia is now in 4th and 5th, with the factory Ducatis right behind them.
32.7 on that last lap from Quattararo in 10th. That was actually quicker than Aguirre, who's currently in 3rd place. You can just see there Diogo Moreira. He's rounding out the point scoring spots right now in 9th, a rather lonely 9th, although he's trying to get himself back into contention. Bit of a moment therefore with Raul Fernandez as he attacked up the turn 8 in Steckenval. That's going to light up the eyes of Di Giannantonio, who's still yet to win a sprint, isn't he? The Italian looking really, really good here to cement his 3rd place in the championship.
It will be a major
dari kota mana nih dukung Veda Jum
with what looked like a pretty benefit at the front of the grid, but Di Giannantonio looking very racy up
di lap
behind Raul
kelima.
Fernandez. Aguirre has settled himself back down now here in 3rd place, beginning to put a bit of distance between himself and Martin and close back in on the top 2.
There's a move coming surely from Bastianini on Bagnaia. He's right on the rear tyre of his fellow Italian. The 2 former factory Ducati teammates having a bit of a slugfest further down the field. Aguirre then now is the quickest rider on circuit with a 1:32.135. He's sort of been able to fend off the 2 factory Aprilia is directly behind
Dari
him.
kota mana
As it stands in
kakak?
the championship, there will be 1 point going back in favour of Jorge Martin. That will come down to 7.
As you can see, the big winner would be Fabio Di Gianantonio from 23 off the lead, so within 19 of the World Championship lead. So we shouldn't be sleeping on Fabio Di Gianantonio as a genuine world title contender.
On board then with Martin, looking back to his factory Aprilia teammate Jack Miller has entered the pit. That's just flashed up on our timing screens. So the Australian no look going for the Prima Pram Yamaha rider. 10 years, of course, right here in 2016, where Jack Miller had probably one of the best days of his Grand Prix career. I don't know if the rear radar device was stuck down there, maybe was it, on that Pramac Yamaha. Ralph Fernandez it is, though, that still leads this sprint. Into the vault we go, almost at the halfway stage, lap 6 of 13. The Gianantonio still menacing there in second place, has not been able as yet to show Fernandez his front tyre.
Yeah, Gianantonio also did a 32-1 on the last lap, so they are by far and away the two fastest riders on track at the moment. Second and third, Digia and Agura. We're riding on board then with the World Championship leader. He would retain the Championship lead at the moment, but lose a point. He wants to try and gain a point. That was the incentive if he can get through on Jorge Martin.
Didn't see this coming, did we? When Martin hit the front and already was from the first
Fernandez di posisi pertama ya, di lap
Aprilia snapped sideways on the brakes into the timber chicane, and that might just give Martin Bezzecchi the run on him coming out of the chicane. It has indeed. So they go side by side, the two factory Aprilias. That all happened, didn't it? As Martin just lets the brake off, drops across the nose of Marco Bezzecchi. That all happened with a sort of Martin trying to go fast into the chicane but slow out.
Was Bezzecchi a little bit timid there, or was Martin just banzaiing it on the brakes? Either way, it is still Martin ahead. Bezzecchi did his personal best, so did Martin. In fairness, as now Bagnaia, rather than defending for Bastianini, once again, he's attacking Marc Marquez. That's his second crack at him into this rubber.
This time around he has made it work, so now the 63 takes 93, and that's for 6th place. What can Bastianini do maybe about getting the KTM? Top KTM, isn't he, on the road?
Dari kota mana
After
kakak?
the early drama for Pedro Acosta, who dropped back down to 15th place after his early scare at turn 9. Acosta's recovered up into P12. Diego Moreira is just about holding a Fabio Quattro. And Bez into 9. This time around he has made it work, as Bezzecchi got late race back. Oh, there's not a lot of doing these to his these two, well, they were great rivals in Moto3 and in Moto2, and they are dishing some punishment out here between the two of them. Bezzecchi, come what may on that aggressive change direction through 10 and 11, was going to find a way through a Martin. He ran him out to the curve, didn't he?
Bezzecchi had to do that. Martin, then up the inside, was always going to run wide, and Bezzecchi was always going to try and duck back underneath it and take the opportunity. A key move that for Marco Bezzecchi. Can he now chase down the top 3?
Well, they have been told to race hard, but they've been told to race with respect. That was a real hard move by Marco Bezzecchi. Now then, Jorge Martin have it all on here to fend off the two factory Ducatis directly behind him. Yeah, Martin was in the 33s after that skirmish with Bezzecchi. He was 6/10 of a second slower. That's how much that battle, that inter-team battle, Costa, Jorge Martin, Diego Moreira. Was at one point, he was 1.2 seconds clear of Quattararo in 9th place, but the Frenchman has jumped all over the rear tyre of the rookie, so I don't know whether there's a little fading grip or whether Moreira has just made a mistake a couple of laps ago, but it's game on for 9th now.
Yeah, that is for the final World Championship point, because Acosta is also joining that battle as he recovers from that earlier moment when he ran off the track at turn 7. Acosta now up into 11th place, and he's also lapping in the 132. Similar pace to the riders that we're currently watching this battle for the top 3. Ralph Fernandez's lead is 4/10 of a second. Digia, in turn, is 3/10 clear of Igor. We'll keep a very close eye on the sector times to see if Bezzecchi can start to close in on the 3 riders watching, who are currently battling for the podium spot.
Fernandez masih di
Just
depan.
has not been able to get close, has he, to Ralph Fernandez at all. And now the Gianantonio, well, he's in that track house of Aprilia sandwich, and it's not a given this that he's going to hang on to second place and deny the American team a fairy tale, a dream 1-2
Yang
here
belum ngopi,
in the
ngopi
sprint.
dulu guys.
Fernandez, as he did in Mugello just a few weeks ago in the Saturday sprint, just looked on
Ya ada
another
5
level.
lap
He
lagi.
just looked so confident, so cool at the front. The Gianantonio, you know he's just going to be too strong on the brakes into the finish again for Agura to attack him. We're about to complete lap 8 of 13. Yeah, Fernandez, you just got a sense visually that he was starting to make a key break. He's just set his best lap of that sprint, a 1:32.149. First time in the sprint then, the advantage at the front is over half a second.
Benteke at the moment does not have the pace to chase them down. Does he have the appetite to chase them down, or has he recognised that perhaps his battle has already been fought in this to get ahead of his teammate Jorge Martin? Key moments here now for Ayagura. If he wants to try and win this TSO sprint, he has to pass Didier quickly.
Yeah, and the red mist is down for Martin. He's got to try and channel his anger here into a positive, which he is doing, because having been duffed up by Betseki on the previous lap, he's just put in his best lap of the sprint so far as well, down to a 1:32.367. As he looks to inflict some retaliation on his factory Aprilia colleague. Agura once again just all over the rear.
Fansnya Veda mana nih? Ketik di bawah dong, dari kota mana? Ada yang dari kidul, ada yang daerah kidul.
Looks as if Antonio is thinking about defence rather than attack now at this stage. Ralph Fernandez lead up to 0.7 of a second, and the danger here for Didier is that he won't just drop behind or drop towards Agura, but potentially towards Marco Bezzecchi too. Still 4 laps to go when they complete this current lap.
6 days ago in the Grand Prix,
Lap to go.
Ralph Fernandez spent every single corner of every single
Fernandez
lap
masih di
inside
depan.
his helmet. He was so ill, so sick from that bout of appendicitis. He's on course here to go from his hospital bed to the top step of the podium. We're going to have a track out 1-2 very, very shortly. That's beautiful by Agura, so clinical on the inside of Digi on the brakes in the turn 16. Is Digi going to get him on the squirt out of that final corner? No, he's not close enough. Agura too strong on the brakes. The textbook attack into the timber chicane from Ayagura. It is fairy tale stuff, this, for Trackhouse Aprilia. They do have a 1-2 here in the Assen sprint.
Yeah, certainly a 1-2 now for the Trackhouse Aprilias, and Gian Antonio, not helped, of course, by that move from Ayagura, did a 32.8 on the last lap, 6:10 slower than Bezzecchi, who's going to be his next problem, who is a second behind in 4th place. So Gian Antonio, I think now he has to just try and batten down the hatches and try and safeguard a bronze medal.
3.5 to go. Has Agura got anything for Fernandez late on here? The gap between the two of them is 1.2 seconds. Here is Marc Marquez, who always felt like coming into this Assen Grand Prix weekend it was going to be more defence rather than attack, more Mugello rather than his brilliance in Balaton and in Brno most recently. Can't relax though at all here, can he, Mark? He's being pushed all the way for this 7th place by Bastianini.
Dari kota mana guys?
Has got through. There's been some recovery by Acosta, fair to him after his first lap mistake. Acosta now back through on Moreira and Quartararo, up into 9th spot.
Already on this lap, Marco Bezzecchi has taken 0.4 of a second out of the riders immediately ahead of him. He's now to within 0.7 of 3rd place and a potential bronze medal, so we could yet still have an Aprilia lockout of the sprint podium. Gian Antonio has also now been given a track limits warning, something to occupy his mind in the final 3 laps.
Just cannot get close. We say this so often, don't we? It's one thing to hug the rear tyre of Marc Marquez, it's another to actually pass him. Bezzecchi has found some serious late sprint speed here. He's just pinged in the fastest lap of the sprint, a 1:32.021. Fernandez and Agura have also up their pace. Well, they've broken Didier. Didier's in trouble here. He's going to be clinging on for that bronze medal. We could have an Aprilia lockout of the podium once again, because Fabio Di Gianantonio lost 0.4 of a second to Fernandez, Agura and to Bez.
Bastianini can have a look up the inside. No, the gap closes on you very, very quickly there as you change direction from the right to the left into the Strubben, and Bastianini wasn't bold enough to launch one at the inside of Marc Marquez from there. This is for 7th and 8th place, so as it stands, Marc Marquez would salvage just 3 points from this TSO sprint.
Yeah, you just know where Mark's risk and reward ratio is sitting right now. I think if you'd have offered him a sort of a top 6, close to the top 6 in both the sprint and the Grand Prix, he'd have said, yeah, thank you very much.
Ya, dari kota mana kakak absen? Dukungnya Veda, ada yang dari Gunung Kidul nggak?
In Germany in a couple of weeks' time.
Tiga lap juga ya, Fernandez masih di posisi pertama.
Just over half a second. Is Bezzecchi just going to run out of time? Here, crucially, coming into this 4th sector where the Aprilias have reigned supreme. The Aprilias have been untouchable, particularly through this fast left-hander of turn 15. This is where Agura said he was making up all of his time, with the long, fast corners really favouring the agility, the manoeuvrability of that Aprilia RSGP. Through the final chicane we go then for Ralph Fernandez. He's going to be, what, about a second clear of Agura. 2 laps to go, and Agura has just put in the fastest lap of the sprint, a 1:32.003. The gap down to 0.8 of a second. We might have a track out of Aprilia 1-2, but it might be Agura Fernandez
Yeah, and I thought for 3/4 of that lap that Ralph Fernandez was doing a pretty good job of managing that lead, and then Agura just exploded in that final sector, setting the fastest lap for the sprint, a 32.0 to close right in. Gian Antonio actually did up his pace, a 32.2 for him, so he matched Bezzecchi and kept the World Championship leader at around a half second behind him.
32.4 from Marc Marquez was some lap time as well to keep Bastianini at bay. I mean, that was only a tenth slower than Ralph Fernandez, the sprint leader. Jorge Martin, well, has not been his sprint at all, has it? We didn't see this one coming, as Frankie Morbidelli's weekend goes from bad to worse, and that's a big one. Turn 4 has caught out Frankie, who has a 3-place grid penalty coming his way in tomorrow's Grand Prix of the Netherlands, as we pick up Ralph Fernandez then.
Nah, pendukungnya Veda, yuk, yang dekat daerah Gunung
through
Kidul
the
atau
double
warga
right-hander
Gunung
of 10 and 11, all about building your speed, building your momentum into this super fast final sector.
Well, Martin's starting to fight a rearguard action here, isn't he? He's fading big time in the last stage of the sprint. He did a 32.8 on the last lap. Bagnaia, Marquez and Bastianini have now jumped right onto the back of the 89, who's got a real job on just to hold on to 5th place.
Acosta looks like he's got 9th covered off. He's about 3/4 of a second clear of Quartararo. Moreira in a rather lonely 11th. Morbidelli's exit has pushed Luca Marini up into 12th place. Alex Marquez, to his credit, is doing a really good job, of course. Missed this morning's qualifying. He's running in 13th spot. 7/10 then is the gap between Ralph Fernandez and Ayagura. Are there late fireworks coming from the Japanese star? This could be an unforgettable day, the best day surely ever for Trackhouse Aprilia, as Justin Marks' American crew are on course for a sprint 1-2.
Just important for Ralph Fernandez to make no mistakes on this final lap. Even by Ayagura's incredible late race pace, it would take something incredible for him to chase down Fernandez from there, unless Fernandez coughs up a mistake on this final lap of the sprint.
Where have the factory Aprilia's been? The factory Aprilia's are getting their noses bloody here, aren't they, by the Trackhouse duo? Fernandez and Agura, of course, for a 1-2. Bezzecchi and
Yang
Martin
nonton dari
fourth and
kota
fifth
mana nih?
respectively.
Absen yuk, absen.
We saw that one coming when the two factory
Belum bikin
Aprilia's well
kopi,
darted
bikin
away
kopi
from
dulu.
the front of the grid. Martin from his first ever Aprilia pole position, fighting tooth and nail here to cling on to this 5th.
Yeah, it's far from a guaranteed 4th and 5th at this stage. Bezzecchi not making any inroads at the moment on Fabio Gian Antonio, who looks like he's locked in for a bronze medal. The best of the rest. We're getting the Aprilia victory we expected in this T-Shirt sprint, but it's the one who started 4th who's going to emerge in front.
Yeah, that historic first all top 4 in qualifying for Aprilia, and the rider that started 4th is going to win. Oh, here comes Bagnaia. He's going to try and send it on the inside of Martin, who's going to go wide. Is he going through that final corner? Into the chicane we go, though. This is dreamland, isn't it? For Trackhouse Aprilia through the final corner. It's Ralph Fernandez who wins the sprint here in the Grand Prix of the Netherlands. That's 2 sprint wins in the last 4 rounds for Ralph Fernandez. From his hospital bed last weekend in Renault to a gold medal on the top step of the podium here in the Assen sprint. He takes the checker flag, just over 3.5 tenths clear of Ayagura. What a day for the American team, as Ralph Fernandez and Ayagura take an historic 1-2. Fabio Gian Antonio does break up and gate crash the Aprilia party.
Guys,
He
ada
takes
yang
3rd
dari
place,
Jawa
another sprint podium for Fabio Gian Antonio. That's his 4th of 2026. Bezzecchi
Tangganya Veda mungkin.
who tried so desperately to take that 5th from Martin on the last lap without success. Final point scoring place does go to Pedro Acosta, who on the first lap dropped all the way back down to 15th place. That was a heck of a
Absen
recovery
yuk dari
by the
kota mana
Spanish
yuk?
rider. Super file Trackhouse with a super sprint Saturday then here in Assen, their first ever 1-2 in a sprint race. 2 sprint wins in the last 4 then now for Ralph Fernandez. What a week he has had. At one point pre-Renault last weekend, he wasn't even sure whether he was going to be participating in this Grand Prix of the Netherlands. Participating in it, he just won the sprint.
Yeah, and he was the rider starting at the back of that quartet of Aprilias at the start. In the end, though, it's a Trackhouse 1-2. What a day for Davide Brivio and company. He's speaking to Jack.
Davide, what a day for the team. The celebrations are electric down here. First and second. Can you believe what you've just seen?
Yeah, I can believe. I can believe. No, it's fantastic from both of them. And as usual, I think at the end he had something in mind, but Raul did great. I was so disappointed this morning about their pole position. We say, stay calm, you can do, you have a pace, just concentrate on the race. And yeah, fantastic. I mean, to see Trackhouse team
Fans sepeda ketik di bawah kota asal.
what can we ask for? I mean, it's a great
Ya,
satisfaction.
tenang,
Thanks, of course, to all Trackhouse people, the team, Justin back in US, and all Trackhouse. I mean, I can't believe it's a dream here.
Congratulations.
See him tomorrow.
That was Pablo Nieto diving in, just saying, we'll have our chance tomorrow.
Well, they'll certainly be hoping so, won't it? That was some late attack between Martin and Bagnaia. I don't know whether Bagnaia was on the green. Was I was going to say?
Place for that.
Yeah, he was on the green. It looked like he was on the green there, which would mean that he will be robbed of this place. Oh, that was close. That was as close as Ralph Fernandez was to losing that pole position this morning. Millimetres, wasn't he, Ralph Fernandez, away from pole? Well, he's put that disappointment behind him in emphatic fashion. Absolutely brilliant by Ralph Fernandez. It does look like he is going to keep his seat in Trackhouse Aprilia next year, which was under some threat. It was in some big jeopardy, wasn't it, in the early part of the season? But they are the kind of performances that will keep Ralph Fernandez on an RSGP next year. No medals, and you have to say, a little bit disappointing from the factory Aprilias. Completely outperformed, outfought, outraced by Ralph Fernandez and Ayagura. Marco Bezzecchi just over 2 seconds off the gold medal winning position. Jorge Martin, who had his dramas with Bez in the latter stages of that sprint, well, he's almost 5 seconds back of the race winner. Didn't see that coming at all. I mean, what led for the first couple laps, Jorge Martin, normally, Lewis, when he does that, well, he's so good at managing the sprint from the front, but once he got picked off by Fernandez and Agura in particular, Di Gianantonio got him as well. He was never able to get himself anywhere near back into the medal battle.
No, and you saw that position progression, as we call it. It was regression for Jorge Martin today, and I noticed it as soon as he crossed the line and pulled wide at turn one. There was a big shake of the head from Jorge Martin after the sprint start he got, and taking pole this morning, he would have expected a heck of a lot better than that.
It was all smiles this morning when he took his 21st pole position in MotoGP, his first on the factory Aprilia. So 5th place will be a little bit disappointing. He starts to explain the reasons why he did drop 4 places from pole to 5th to his crew chief Daniele Romagnoli. Got a bit of work to do for the factory Aprilias, because Trackhouse have just torn up
Dari
Assen.
kota
That
mana
was
aja nih
phenomenal.
kakak.
Absolutely awesome performance by
Silaturahim ketik di
Fernandez.
bawah.
What a
Peluang
ride.
Veda.
2 sprint wins in the last 4. Aprilia, and that's not been an easy task here this weekend, because there's been so many star performers for Aprilia. I'm sure somewhere back over in the United States of America, boss Justin Marks is tuning in to watch that sprint. I don't think he's got any. Has he got any fingernails left? He's at a NASCAR event in California, so
Early in the morning.
I was going to say, well, he's California dreaming. He'll be pinching himself, because that is a dream come true result, isn't it, for Trackhouse Aprilia. Ralph Fernandez first, Ayagura at 2nd, high 5s all round for the American team. Justin Marks, no fingernails left. I'm sure he's been on the edge of his seat watching that battle. What a performance. Unfortunately, Joan Mir, well, he was out on the very first lap, wasn't he?
On the outside here, as we come round turn 3, he's going to have a crash on his own ears. The rear comes round, he was trying to go around the outside there of Pecco Bagnaia, so Mir sprint ending after 3 corners, unfortunately all his own doing.
Yeah, that just looked like just applying the throttle that little bit too much lean angle as well. And that was unfortunately a combination of work for the factory Honda, Joan Mir, then an early fall. So Fabio Di Gianantonio is the only rider that really stuck his nose into that Aprilia fight at the front. 3rd in the sprint here at Assen, he's with Jack.
Fabio, what a brilliant performance. It's been a weekend dominated by Aprilia so far, so to be right in the middle of that fight for victory, to hold off the World Championship leader in those final laps, I'm sure that's a result you're absolutely delighted with.
We know that here Aprilias are doing an amazing job. They are going so fast, so at the moment we are trying to maximize the damage, minimize the damage. So yeah, the focus was to start well and try to be with them at the beginning. At one point I thought, okay, maybe I have a chance to win the race, but then suddenly I was quite on the limit with both tires, so I kept the position, then I came, but yeah,
Kakak dari kota mana aja absen yuk.
Congratulations.
Tung.
Yeah, that is a fantastic result. As we suspected,
Kota mana aja
Bagnaia
nih.
is being
Diam aja
hit with a
nih.
1-position penalty drop due to exceeding track limit on the last lap, which means there's a reversal in position for the 2 factory Ducatis. Bagnaia then pushed back to 7th. Marc Marquez bumped up into 6th place, and always felt like that one was going to be coming as well. So Fabio Di Gianantonio then, yeah, at one stage he thought he might have something for Ralph Fernandez late on.
Looked like Digio was on the green there coming out of the final chicane, but crucially he was more than a second ahead of Marco Bezzecchi at the checkered flag, so he faces no penalty.
So here we go then, Agura,
Dream
territory for Trackhouse of Aprilia. Agura, back-to-back second place in the Tissot sprint for him in 1 week. He's with Jack.
Aye, what a brilliant week it's been. A third straight second place finish. I'm sure you're desperately hoping that victory is going to come, but you pushed so hard today on what in the end is a magnificent day for the team.
Yeah. I guess it's the first 1-2 for the team. So yeah, I'm really happy for my people, and yeah, in general the race was really nice. But shame that I lost couple of positions in the first 2-3 laps. So yeah, we know what to improve for tomorrow. So we'll see. But it was a good race anyway. Yeah.
Great job today.
He briefly led the Grand Prix in Brno. He briefly led this afternoon's sprint here in Assen. I do feel that first win is not going to be too far away for the number 79. Another super performance by the Superfar Trackhouse Aprilia rider. They take a 1-2 as Ralph Fernandez is going to come and have a chat with Jack very shortly. Probably out of all of those 3 Aprilias, or all the 4 Aprilias that started inside that top
Dari
4,
kota mana guys?
the least fancy to take the sprint win would have been Ralph Fernandez, despite how close he was to a fantastic pole position this morning. But once again, showing that he is a class talent, showing that he deserves a place in the 2027 MotoGP World Championship. There's confirmation. As a class talent, showing that he deserves a place in the 2027 MotoGP World Championship. There's confirmation.
Tuh buffering lagi. Buffering. Maximo Quiles lagi yang juara 1 guys. Susul Joel Kelso, Uriarte, Comorelli, Ukes, Almansa, Veda ke-7 ya.
Casa Aprilia, Ralph Fernandez with Jack.
Raul, what a performance, what a ride, what a day for the team. Used all of the frustration of this morning to come through from the second row of the grid and take a second sprint win. How much does this victory mean?
Yeah, for sure I am very happy. This is the second sprint victory that I get this year. So normally on the last year we don't believe a lot on the sprint, but I think we found something. We are quite strong, so yeah, it is amazing for me, but also for the team, because it's the first time that they are making 1-2, so very happy. The race was quite nice, but I know that I is quite fast in the last part of the race. To be honest, I was on my limit, and he had more pace, so we will see tomorrow. Will be a long race, and as I tell to my friend Charlie, this is for you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was some performance once again by Ralph Fernandez, the 25-year-old Spaniard, powering the number 25 Aprilia to top spot here. What a performance that was. This was his key move. Lovely move that, as Fabio Di Gianantonio sees third place from Agura there at the back of your picture in the same corner. Ralph Fernandez decided that was his moment. 2 sprint wins in the last 4 Grand Prix then for Ralph Fernandez. It's only his 5th sprint podium in 68, and this was quality. This was a lovely double pass. Look at that, Fernandez for the lead, Digio for 3rd. One track out of Aprilia that stage moving forwards, one track out of Aprilia going backwards, but Agura once again was super strong at the end of that sprint. Was it 4 tenths the gap between him and Marc Marquez over the line in the Brno Grand Prix? 3 tenths between him and Ralph Fernandez at the end of that sprint. He's getting closer, he is inching ever closer to that first victory, but it's second place once again for Agura as the medal ceremony commences here in the Grand Prix of the Netherlands.
Agura's waiting for a victory of any sort. Might only be another 24 hours with the form he's in at the moment, but credit to his teammate today, Ralph Fernandez. Rather than getting angry, he got even with Assen this afternoon. Millimetres in it this morning, costing him pole position. But in the end, 3/10 in it between himself and his teammate Igor today. Once again, the leading light for Ducati this afternoon. Fabio Di Gianantonio, bronze medal for Digia.
Ya guys, balapannya sudah selesai. Besok lagi kita live ya, pagi balapan santai menghibur. Ya makasih semua yang udah bergabung ya.